ComfyUI Trellis2 Multiview is finally here, and I will show you exactly how you can use the new workflows to create more precise and accurate 3D AR models in Trellis2 than ever before. In addition to that, I will also show you how you can create accurate multiviews for free and how you can use them to texture your 3D AR models directly inside ComfyUI. Having said that, let's dive right into it. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Philip from Pixel Artistry, and today we are going to have a look how you can create completely for free on your own PC accurate 3D model using the new Multiview feature. And this is actually very simple to use, so I will show you this now step by step. First, we need to create our multiviews, and I wanted to show you here quickly two ways you can do to have the perfect multiviews for your 3D AR characters in the end. The first way is a free version that we can use, and the second one is a paid one. So we will directly start with the free version. Just to show you quickly, I will use here Nano Banana because Nano Banana is really at the moment state of the art when it comes to like editing images and creating those multiviews. You can of course also use Quen Image Edit. I also made a video about it that you can check out here, and what I use personally so far the most is actually Nano Banana. And to use the free version is that you need to log into Google AR Studio, and I will link you everything down below as always. And once you're here, to use the free version now is that you need to go to image generation over here, and then we can choose here Nano Banana. And once we are in here, we can then already start uploading our AI generated image. And in case you were wondering how to create that, there are plenty of ways to do that. You can use Midjourney, you can use, I don't know, Hanyuan image, but you can also use Quen image. There are plenty of ways. In case you would like to see a detailed video about it, let me know. Otherwise, you can also check out my previous videos where I created those AI images already and showed you how to do it. Anyways, once we have this selected, we can now upload our image by clicking here on the plus and say upload files. Now I can choose my first image. And for the first one that I uploaded over here, I will use this kind of magician here / wizard because he is already standing in a T-pose, which is great. You can of course also create this in Nano Banana, but I think this is giving us a great base. And now to create our multiviews is that I will start type prompting here, and I will just say something very simple like show side view, and then I can hit here control. Alright, and once our side view is here, you can see he did a pretty well job here showing the side view. Everything is working well so far. And what we can do now is also say here show back view and then run again. And then as you can see, we have here our back view, and this is also working great. So we have only one view left, which is the left side. So I will also say here something like show left side, run it again. And then as you can see, this is then our other side. In case you are not satisfied with the result or you would like to change it, what you can always do is click here on this little star saying rerun this turn. Then you can do that again, and once you have that, it will then regenerate your image. And this is basically how you create the multiviews in the free version, and here you can see all 4 multiviews side by side. To use the paid version, I usually go to file.ai and use here the Nano Banana Pro version, because this is the advanced version of Nano Banana, and it will give you most of the times the most accurate and consistent results. So I can highly recommend you to check it out, and you will see that it costs you $0.15 per image. So it's kind of cheap, I would say. For 7 times it's $1. So when you really need to have like hero assets in your game or in your 3D rendering, then I can highly recommend to check this one out for the best results. And here what we can do is also first uploading our image. And for this one, maybe let's choose another character, like for example this dwarf over here, which we are also going to use later in ComfyUI. And then I can also say here again, show side view. Then I'm going to hit run and wait for the result. And then you will see that we get a very consistent result with everything he had before. So this is with everything we also saw in the front view, his facial details and so on, which is great. And the really cool thing is here that we can just directly drag and drop it into this field over here. And then Nano Banana Pro will take both angles into consideration, and we can use those ones then now to create also the back view. So let's do that quickly. And then once we have all 4 multiviews multiviews ready, what we can do then is simply downloading them all by clicking on here to download it, and then just make sure to save it to your PC. And what you can do is for the small ones we just dragged and dropped in here is just make sure to hit right mouse button and save image as, and you can also make sure that you have here a aspect ratio of 1:1 because this will give us the best results for Trellis2 actually, so that we don't encounter any stretching or something like this. By the way, in case you are enjoying this video so far, please make sure to join our free newsletter Future Frames that you will find down below to learn more about 3D AI and to get the latest workflows that I'm working on. And also, of course, always feel free to join our free Discord. We are over 2,000 members now on our Discord. It's completely free to join, and let's continue directly with the video. Okay, great. And once we have done that, just one very quick thing we need to check before we actually started is that you grab the latest update. So I can, as always, recommend that you install the ComfyUI-Easy-Install package. In case you have it already, you can use it directly. Otherwise, to install Trellis2, you can check out my video here, which will explain you in detail how to set up Trellis2 with the ComfyUI-Easy-Install package. And once you have that, there is a folder for you, which is called add-ons, and you can click on it. And to always grab the latest updates from Trellis2, just make sure that you rerun this bat file over here, which will then grab the latest update and automatically install it for you on your ComfyUI-Easy-Install installation. So after you have executed this one, we can then go back to ComfyUI-Easy-Install, and then I will make sure that I just start here the ComfyUI-flashattention.bat file. Okay, great. And once ComfyUI launched, what we can do now is open our first workflow. And as always, I will put you all workflows down below for free to download in the video description. And we will start with the first one, which is the Trellis2 Multiview Mesh Only workflow. And this one will only generate the mesh, not the texture, but I will also show you in a second how the texture multiview workflow works then in the end. So as you can see is we have here the front and back view that we can upload over here. And on the bottom row, we also have the left and the right view. And those are basically the views we just generated with Nano Banana. And you can just upload them here, make always sure that they are in a 1:1 ratio. They are also labeled like this. So just make sure that you have each view here in the correct slot, because as you can see, we now have a new node, which is called Trellis2 Mesh with Voxel Multiview Generator. And we have now 4 slots where we can plug in the images. So the front image, back image, left image, and the right image. And those nodes over here will make sure that they will remove the background from here. So just make sure to enable those to make sure that you then have no background or something in your images. And what we can do here to increase the quality is that we can change the pipeline type here. So usually I'm choosing here something like 1024 cascade. Then I'm making sure to increase the structure steps for a good result, something like 30, but you could go even higher to something like 50 and so on. And this one we can leave like as is because we don't texture here anything, and make sure that the structure resolution is also set on 32. This workflow here will take around 12 to 14 gigabytes of VRAM. You can also use a low VRAM version by lowering the pipeline type over here to 512, and make sure to then use steps of only 12, and then it should also run low VRAM for you. And once we have that, we can then now give it the first run and see then what we get. Okay, great. And once finished, you can see this is the result we get. The whole generation took around 429 seconds. So quite some time on my RTX 5080 with 16 GB of VRAM. But this is mostly because we're using here 4 views in total, and it's taking the longest time. To speed up generation time, what you can do is basically just selecting those ones, pressing Ctrl and B, and then it will only take the front side and the back side, which is in most cases also already enough, and then generation time will be much faster for you. And in the next step, I'm going to show you now how we can texture this wizard now by importing him into the ComfyUI workflow and then using the multiview feature to texture him from all sides. And for this one, we need next to open the multiview's texture mesh workflow. So I will also quickly drag and drop that in here. And you will notice that in this one, we have the Trellis2 mesh texturing multiview over here. And only thing we need to do here is to load in our mesh. And since we just generated our mesh, what we need to do is going to our ComfyUI-Easy-Install folder, then going here to ComfyUI, then to output, and then make sure to take the latest one over here. We also have now in the output folder always a preview, so you can see each file to which it is attached or slash generated. So just make sure to select a file here, go to copy as path, then going back to our ComfyUI workflow and then just pasting in here the path. Make sure to remove the double quotes over here. And then once we have that, we can now run the workflow again. Okay, great. And this is the result we get. And you can see that from each side, it was textured quite well, our magician over here, slash wizard. And I think this is a really cool way now to control our textures even better. Of course, here we have this faceted look from the model itself. And I explained to you in my last video how you can fix that actually. So make sure to check that out. Because with this technique, like this workflow, you could also in theory export external meshes with existing UVs or 3D models that you modded yourself and then take it in here to actually texture it really quick. So I think this is a really cool way to see that. Also to note here is that this generation only took 233 seconds, so way faster than the mesh generation, even with 4 views over here. And it should be even faster when you only used 2 views in the end. But I think this is really exciting to see, and you can use those workflows, of course, not only with characters, but I also tested this on hard surface meshes, as you can see here, for example. So there are plenty of ways like to use the multi-view feature in Trellis2 now, and it will give you much more control than just using a single image. And last but not least, we also put a multi-view workflow together in ComfyUI, which will actually combine the geometry and texture together. And big thanks here to MacWeb, who is helping me a lot also developing those workflows. And of course, huge shout out as always to Visual Bruno, who kind of implemented the whole setup here. So this workflow is actually able that we first created geometry and in one go also texture our mesh by using always these 4 views that we have here. And here I'm using this dwarf warrior that you also saw earlier, which we created with Nano Banana. So this is great. And we also have an additional option here to use stable X, which will turn our 4 images that we see here into a kind of normal map. So into normal data. So actually that Trellis2 is able to read it even better, like the shape, and it should give us more details than with just using the textured view. And I will show you in a second how this looks like, and you can optionally use it for your use case and test what works the best for you. So let's just run it quickly by also enabling here the mesh texturing multi-view workflow. This workflow will in total also take around like 12 to 14 gigabytes depending on your settings. Just make sure to play around here also with the settings as always and to see what works best for you then in the end. So let's run the workflow by first ignoring this message over here that is always coming. You can simply ignore it as always. So just make sure to close this one and now we can run our workflow. Oh, and you will actually notice that we here, for example, discovered an issue, and I always like to show you how to fix something like this quickly. So this is a very simple fix because you can see over here we have this red node, and this is because we need to enable here the remove background option because Trellis2 is actually recognizing that it still has a background here. So just make sure to enable it, and now we can run the workflow again. All right, and after the workflow finished, we can see this is our result now from the 4 views from our dwarf kind of, which looks great in my opinion. And I only use here 1024 cascade, so not even the highest resolution, but I think this looks really solid. And you can see that on the bottom we also have now the texture. Sometimes you have this stretch bug kind of, so just make sure to resize the window, but you will see that it's doing also a kind of very decent job on the texture, which I think is great. I feel like when you're using multi-views for the texture, it works even better than just a single view. So I think that's definitely something, and this looks also great. Just keep in mind, since we used here 4 views and used the texturing and the geometry all in one go, this one took a whooping like 70 minutes, so quite a lot. So just keep that in mind, you know, when you run it through the whole pipeline. Depending on your GPU, it might take some time. As mentioned, when you would like to speed it up, make sure that you deselect like those images over here, just use front and back, and then it should be faster for you. I will now also show you as a last thing also also how it would behave with the stable X one over here. So you can simply enable this one by selecting them and hitting Ctrl B again. And once you have them, we can then more or less rerun the workflow. Sometimes what I tend to do, you know, after having a heavy workflow run is that I'm going on the top here to unload models and free model and cache. And then your VRAM will usually go down, or for a hard reset on the RAM, for example, is also to restart ComfyUI one time before then running it again. So let's try this as well, and then we can have a final look in a second and then comparing them all in Blender to see actually what difference it makes to use the multi-view feature. Alright, and this one completed now as well, and you can see over here that this is what StableX is doing actually, that it kind of converts this image into this normal preview, and you will see that we then get additional details here. This won't work perfectly with every model, but it can definitely help to increase details. For example, if you would like to 3D print your model later on. And you will see this then actually over here. So this is the result we get, and I will show you also now in a second a side-by-side comparison with a single view image, the multi-view image, and the multi-view image with StableX actually. Alright, and now we come to the final comparison between the single view generation, the multi-view generation, and the multi-view generation on StableX. And what you will notice is actually, and I'm still kind of surprised by it, is that the single view generation did a really well job, I have to say, on the front view, especially when we compare it, for example, with the multi-view one. But when we go to the back side, you can see that the back is kind of more detailed here when we look at the overall results, and it will be more consistent because, for example, here on the single view, we get like this kind of lost hair over here, and here we have a more defined one, even though here it didn't run through the refiner. So this is something you still need to consider, because for this one, I ran it through the high quality workflow that we have over here, which I showed you in my last video. So it took this one. You can still use this, but we don't have a multi-view option for now for the Trellis2 mesh refiner, so I left it out for now. But when we look actually at all three of them, you will see that the StableX is a bit different from our reference image. So it's more like for, let's say, stylized images, I would say, or when it's not too important that it matches your reference like 100% or completely. But you will notice that compared to the multi-view one, you have a bit more like wrinkles and details overall. So this can definitely help, but this is of course optional to use, and I would be very interested to hear, what gives you the best results so far when you test out the workflows yourself. Looking at the texturing really quick, when I switch here, is what you will notice is that I have the feeling that the multi-view is doing here a way better job than the single view one. You will see with the single view that even though it gives here nice details overall, we have a lot of shadows and contrast in here, and also on the back side it's, it regenerated this belt over here and got it here, and you will see here that we have way more accurate textures because we can now use actually multiple images to texture our model, which is amazing, like multiple angles, and you will have a way more consistent texture than before. Here actually the same thing, it's way more consistent and looks way better than what we have with the single view generation. So one workflow could be, of course, as well, that you only use the single view for the mesh generation, and then with the high quality workflow that I showed you in my last video, and then use the multi-view generation, the texture workflow that I just showed you in this video. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because in the next video I'm going to show you how we can refine our textures that we generate with Trellis2 in Modif, and how you can refine those textures, repaint them, and then get the best results possible for your 3D AR models. Having said that, see you on the next video.